Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you all to the 7th Annual World Future Energy Summit. My name is Nima Abouwarde, and I'll be guiding you through today's proceedings. Now, we have a bit of a problem on our hands, don't we? You see, the demand for energy is set to grow by 41% by the year 2035. This according to the oil giant BP. Demand globally is set to double by the year 2050, according to the World Energy Council. And the problem is this, that these levels are simply unsustainable. And the key word here is sustainability. This is really the focus, isn't it? So what is the definition of energy sustainability? Well, according to the World Energy Council, it's threefold. You've got energy security, social equity, and mitigating various risks to the climate and environment, for example. We'll be hearing more about this throughout the day. Now, the point is that none of these three areas are sustainable if the world continues to function as it currently does. Now, of course, the continued growth and demand for energy is great for this part of the world. After all, the Middle East has the world's largest source of low-cost oil. Brilliant news. But is it? Yes, some renewables will witness phenomenal growth. The use of solar power, for example, to generate electricity is set to increase by a staggering 225% compared to the year 2010. But the inconvenient truth is that current investment, goals, policies, innovation, they simply won't help us achieve what we've set out to achieve. Especially when it comes to things like environmental goals, climate goals, and I think things like millennium goals too. So how are the world's energy needs going to be met then? Met in a way that's not going to cause more problems than benefits. Well, we'll be discussing all of these issues and more, and hearing from many of the world's experts about these very things throughout today. But I believe that the overriding message is that we need to focus on demand. We keep talking about the supply mix, but in fact, surely the focus has to be on making things more energy efficient, looking at the issue of demand specifically, and bringing it down. Well, to start proceedings, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage the United Arab Emirates Minister of Energy, His Excellency Suhail Al-Mazroui.
Thank you, Nima. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to Abu Dhabi, to this important event, and to this important dialogue of global energy leaders. I am also pleased to welcome His Excellency Dr. Ernest Moniz, United States Secretary of Energy, and His Excellency Toshimitsu Motegi, Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan. The World Future Energy Summit is now in its 7th year, and it's indicative of our desire to bring the world together to find sustainable solutions to our energy challenges. The presence of such distinguished speakers shows the level of commitment and the desire for such exchanges. And it shows also the reality and the magnitude of the challenges. We need to provide modern energy services to the estimated 1.3 billion people who still lack them, while at the same time reducing the emissions that cause local pollutions and global warming. Today, we have a strong focus on Africa, where both the challenges and the opportunities are most clear. As many as 600 million people in Africa are still lack access to modern energy services. Yet the continent is among the world's fastest growing regions. The IMF expected a robust GDP growth of around 6% this year. The United Arab Emirates is already a major investor in Africa, and renewable energy is playing a growing role in that investment. In recent years, we have implemented a major solar power project in Mauritania and a wind energy project in the Seychelles. The Abu Dhabi Fund for Development has supported hydroelectric power in Algeria. Last year, we committed $100 million to wind and solar projects in Morocco. And we are actively looking at renewable energy as part of our major portfolio of investments in Egypt. And we have supported electrical grid enhancement in Eritrea. We are also proud to be a major supporter of the work of the IRENA, which includes vital initiatives such as the East Africa Renewable Energy Corridor. In short, we believe in renewable energy as a needed form of energy complementing the conventional fossil fuel, and we believe in our international role to help bringing energy to the world and especially to Africa. We believe that renewable energy has a role to play in driving the broader economic growth of the continent of Africa, and we want to support that role. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. And in fact, the United Arab Emirates has been supporting renewable energy for decades now, years and years. And I understand that this country has one of the regions, if not the region's largest solar power field, very close to here, where there's a lot of focus on research and development. Things like, how do you deal with the very fine dust and sand that covers these solar powers? So a lot of work is being done here. Now, of course, the United States is doing a lot of work in this area too. Please join me in welcoming the United States of America's Secretary of State for Energy, the Honorable Professor Ernest Moniz.
Well, thank you, Nima, and also thank you, Minister Al-Mazroui. It's a very great pleasure to be back in the Emirates and to be back, in fact, at this conference. Also like to thank my old friend Sultan Al-Jaber and Masdar for this conference series, which, as we all know in this room, has become really one of the major international must-dos in the world of sustainable energy. And also, I think we should also really acknowledge the leadership and the commitment to our subject by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The Abu Dhabi and the Emirates really have become a crossroads for this discussion about renewables, about clean energy, and about our shared commitment to minimizing the impacts of climate change. I'd also like to just acknowledge the very deep relationship between my country, the United States, and the UAE with shared security, economic and trade, and cultural interests. I'd like to just talk very briefly about three things. First, since the last meeting here 1 year ago, President Obama put forward in June a very explicit climate action plan. It was put forward with three major elements: mitigation, but also adaptation, recognizing that we are already seeing and feeling and paying the cost of some of the changes of global warming and climate change. And third, the third major umbrella, a stronger and elevated emphasis on international collaboration, without which, of course, we cannot collectively successfully address the issues of climate change. What I'd like to emphasize before discussing the mitigation program a bit more is that the action plan that was put forward is one that relies only upon existing authorities in the President's office, in the administration, and consequently, I'd like to say that we are, the President, with the President's leadership, we are committed and will execute the program on climate change. We feel we are having some success. Our carbon dioxide emissions have in fact gone down since 2005, and we will be carrying out that program. I don't have time to discuss the entire program, but let me say a few things about the mitigation approach, meaning, of course, the attempt to limit greenhouse gas emissions. The first point I'd like to say and really emphasize is that the action plan relies upon what has been termed an all-of-the-above approach. That is, even as we commit to lowering greenhouse gas emissions, specifically to lowering carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuel use, we nevertheless continue to invest in all of the sources of energy, including fossil fuels and renewables and nuclear power and, of course, efficiency as part of our approach to a low-carbon solution. Indeed, we do not believe that there is one low-carbon solution. There are many low-carbon solutions because the conditions that each of us have in our different countries and even within the United States, the conditions we have in different parts of our country will call for different low-carbon solutions, and therefore we are investing across the board in these areas. I'll say a word about the efficiency agenda because here we believe as well that any credible long-term solution to our climate challenges will need to have a major component on the demand side. That will result, and we are pursuing, of course, new technologies, LEDs for lighting, advanced batteries, et cetera, for transportation. But we are also pursuing a regulatory approach, having dramatically increased the pace of applying standards of efficiency on a whole range of appliances, electronic products, and the like. This year, we expect to issue 14 of these standards, and over the period of the Obama presidency, to have standards in place that cumulatively over a couple of decades will lead to gigatons of avoidance of carbon dioxide and literally savings to consumers approaching $1 trillion. I'll say a word on nuclear before turning to renewables. Again, in the United States, there is for the first time, the construction of some new Generation 3+ reactors. The Department of Energy is helping that by putting forward a loan guarantee. But I just want to say that we believe that the performance in terms of cost and schedule in the building of these reactors will be a critical issue to determine what the future is of nuclear power in the mix. That's in addition to emphasizing a new technology, specifically small modular reactors. Again, we don't know if this is an answer to the role of nuclear power in the future, but we believe we will only know by moving forward to build some of these innovative designs. And again, we have approved assistance for moving 2 of those designs to realization in roughly the next 10 years. But let me talk a little bit more about renewables. Here, not only are we supporting renewables very, very broadly in terms of different technologies, but also we are supporting the research, development, demonstration, and deployment activities that we believe is needed to push the technology and to lower the costs. I'll give you as one example, again on the deployment side, through the loan guarantee program that we've had, when there was little debt financing available, we were able to support, for the first time, utility scale photovoltaic projects in the United States, 5 of them, and subsequently, as the economy has improved, now 10 more are going forward with completely private financing. So I think this is the kind of public-private partnership that we need to help create these fields and, in fact, to provide the experience and the drivers for cost reduction. Similarly, that program has supported concentrated solar power just within the solar arena, and within the next 3 months, we will be commissioning 2 very large CSP plants, including with 6 hours of storage, which, as we know, can tremendously help in terms of having the integration of solar resources into the grid. Now, helping the deployment is only part of the story. Another part, of course, is emphasizing innovation, driving the technology forward to lower costs. Clearly, we believe that lowering the cost is absolutely essential to having the scale-up of these technologies. And sometimes I think we lose perspective on what has happened. If I talk in terms of the United States, in just the last 5 years, wind has doubled its deployment, and in 2012 represented nearly half of all the deployed capacity in the United States, with the remainder being primarily natural gas. If you look at costs, the price of photovoltaic modules dropped by 3/4 in 5 years. The cost of LED lights dropped by 85% in 5 years. The cost of electric vehicle batteries dropped by about 60% in 5 years. Now, this does not mean all of them are right in the middle of the sweet spot for costs to scale in the marketplace. But we should recognize these costs are dropping dramatically, and their role in the marketplace is growing dramatically, as seen in the deployment, and they are getting prepared in a relatively short time, we believe, to be marketplace competitive in many, many ways. So again, just to summarize that, all of the above is a very important part of our program, and certainly renewables and efficiency are high points of that program. A second area, just to mention, one that we will be emphasizing, one that many others are emphasizing in other parts of the world, and an area which we believe is also ripe for international collaboration, is the energy-water nexus. We believe this is an area that needs more attention, and in fact will need increasing attention as we look at the continuing impacts of climate change, which is likely to exacerbate the water stress in areas that already are stressed for water. This we all know in parts of this area there are, of course, water challenges, but the same is true in the United States. California has been extremely dry. Texas had a recent major drought, and high temperatures. We sometimes forget high temperatures. In fact, impacted thermal power plants just by warming the water. up. So there are many, many ways in which the energy-water nexus will impact us. In the case of Texas, the big build-out of wind it turned out to be essential to get through this period with almost 20% of the state's electricity at some times coming from wind, and obviously alleviating the needs for water. Here in the UAE, we have seen great innovation driven by this energy-water nexus. In particular, I would point out the very innovative programs to accelerate the integration of renewables and desalination technologies, something that will become, of course, more and more critical. And finally, my third point, I'd just like to add my welcome to this meeting's focus on Africa. I noticed in today's newspaper that here in the Emirates, awards were made today in connection with the hosting of IRENA to fund projects in developing countries, and specifically in Africa. Here again, I would go back to the theme. Driving down the costs of these technologies is so essential if these technologies are in fact to scale, not just certainly in the developed countries, but most especially in the earlier stage economies. We heard this morning about how Africa is changing, critical areas of governance, transparency, accountability, inviting greater investment, inviting the development of regulations that will sustain and protect investments, a very strong emphasis on public-private partnerships. We think these are absolutely key to scaling, because once again, it will in the end be largely private capital that has to drive the scale-up of these technologies. And so all of these developments are very, very encouraging, and I think deserve our continued and even enhanced collective support in going forward. I will end by saying that with regard to Africa, again, President Obama in the last summer of 2013, in Africa, pledged that we would move forward with assistance for energy in Africa, establishing Power Africa, pledging $7 billion of assistance, and pledging that we in the administration, myself, I will be in Africa in this year, meeting with energy ministers and looking for ways that we can move forward on clean energy in that very important part of the world. So with that, again, I thank you for your attention, but again, I thank all of our hosts for bringing together this really important and impactful meeting for us to discuss sustainability. Thank you.
Professor Moritz, thank you very much indeed for that. Now, in fact, it's predicted that global carbon dioxide emissions are to go up by 29% by the year 2035 if current conditions continue. And this is with taking into account the decline in emissions from places like the United States and Europe. Now, part of the problem is, well, actually the major part of the problem is cars and coal. Cars and coal. Population growth, economic growth means that more coal is consumed, more cars on the street. But it's also about things like fuel subsidies, fossil fuel subsidies, here in the Middle East, and also in some countries in Africa. So these are big policy issues that need to be looked at for various reasons. Now, to hear the perspective from Japan, please welcome to the stage the country's Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, His Excellency Toshimitsu Motegi.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, organizers, distinguished guests, and participants. I am Toshimitsu Motegi, Minister of Economy, Trade, and Industry of Japan. First, I'd like to extend my congratulations on the successful World Future Energy Summit under the leadership of the President of UAE and ruler of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed, as well as the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and the creator of Master Initiative, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity to speak about the energy policy development in Japan and our contribution to the world in the energy field. Japan and the UAE has enjoyed a long-lasting friendship. Japan's participation in upstream oil development projects in Abu Dhabi dates back further than the founding of the UAE. Today, more than 20% of oil imported to Japan originates from the UAE, and Japan is one of the largest export destinations for the UAE. Yet, our relationship is not limited to oil alone. The beautiful green mangrove forest lining the Abu Dhabi coast is an outcome of Japanese cooperation. Also, the Marine Resource Research Center in the Northern Emirates has been an important base for sharing Japan's advanced cultivation technology to the UAE's fishery industry. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, during his visit to the UAE last May, expressed his commitment to strengthen cooperation between both countries in the field of energy efficiency, renewable energy, and nuclear energy. Japan has long supported the goals of Master initiatives. Ever since the first World Future Energy Summit, we have set up the Japan Pavilion, the largest among the participating countries. This year again, we welcome your visit to our pavilion to see the latest technologies of 17 Japanese companies. In the aftermath of the Great East Japan earthquake and the accident at the TEPCO Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in March 2011, Japan faces significant energy constraint. Securing a stable supply of energy at reasonable cost remains a significant challenge. Today, we are about to embark upon a major change to our energy policy. We all seek an energy source that is stable, low cost, safe, and environmentally friendly. However, such an ideal form of energy does not exist. It is the responsibility of policymakers to establish a well-balanced energy portfolio, maximizing advantages of each energy source while minimizing the weakness as a whole. With this vision in mind, the Japanese government is now in the process of finalizing our new energy basic plan, which will become the long-term energy strategy for our country. Let me now move on to the topic of renewable energy and energy efficiency. Firstly, the use of renewable energy in Japan has been increasing dramatically since the introduction of the feed-in tariff mechanism starting in July 2012. After 16 months, the renewable energy capacity increased substantially by 5.85 gigawatt, which equals 30% of the previous capacity. Overcoming the unstable power output is an important issue to further expand the introduction of renewable energy. Japan is focusing on developing large-scale battery storage technology to deal with the unstable power output. Building upon our most advanced technology, we have started the world's largest demonstration project to install a battery on the power distribution grid. In addition, we are conducting research and development to reduce the cost of storage batteries. Secondly, energy efficiency has been another focus of our policy. Since the oil crisis in the 1970s, both the private sector and the government have made huge efforts to improve energy efficiency. As a result, our energy intensity has improved by 40% and is the highest in the world today. Moreover, energy efficiency policies can be compatible with industrial competitiveness. One example is Japan's Top Runner program. This program is a set of rules which set specific numerical energy efficiency standards at level above the performance of the best products at a given time. And it requires manufacturers to meet those standards within 3 to 10 years. The number of achievements under the program includes 49% improvement in vehicle fuel efficiency and 32% reduction in power consumption of air conditioner. Japan, the energy efficiency leader, is in pursuit of higher goals. We have learned many lessons from the experience of saving electricity power, especially after the earthquake. The Japanese government managed to avoid a negative impact from the short supply of power on economy, focusing to reduce peak power demand rather than excessive power saving. Building on the experience, we aim to create a new energy management system today. The system will encourage consumers to shift energy demand from peak hours to other time of the day by setting higher rates for the peak hours and lower rates for the off-peak hours. In order to promote this shift, smart meters can play an essential role. Therefore, Japan has set a target to make smart meter available to every household in 2020s. In parallel, we will establish world-leading smart grids and smart communities. We have been carrying out demonstration projects on the smart community in 4 major cities in Japan. Inshallah, preliminary data from this project informs us that a 20% peak demand reduction can be achieved through dynamic pricing, and this may result in a reduction of household electricity bills by 30%. Japan will continue to drive innovation in the global energy field by applying our most advanced technologies. For this purpose, the Japanese government will continue to share our latest experience with other countries. Also, we will lead the discussion in the international arena. Yesterday, Japan has been designated as the president of the 2015 Assembly of the International Renewable Energy Agency. In my capacity as the Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan, I am committed to leading the discussion toward global enhancement of renewable energy. In closing, please allow me to re-emphasize Japan's commitment to building a strong partnership with countries willing to enhance renewable energy and energy efficiency, including the UAE, the hosting country of this summit. It is my sincere intention to contribute to the realization of a secure and sustainable global energy scene. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Shukran jazilan.